Mike and Tom are registered with Stewart Partners Global Advisory LLC.
Common Sense Finance with Mike Wiginton and Tom Farrell of HL Wiginton Capital Management, an independent investment and financial planning firm in downtown Jasper. Mike is a chartered financial analyst charter holder, and Tom is a certified financial planner professional. They are here to discuss and give their thoughts on current financial and economic matters. Now, with Common Sense Finance, here are Mike and Tom.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Common Sense Finance. I'm Tom Farrell. This is Mike Wiginton, and today we're going to talk about Mike's favorite subject, maybe in a little different take on it, of some, I guess, collateral effects of ESG.
So you think anybody even remembers what ESG is?
I don't know, but everybody you talk to, you talk about ESG. That's your favorite subject. So
no matter where I am.
Everywhere, on the street,
church,
school,
ballparks,
on the basketball courts,
anywhere. They should know about it.
Yeah. So today, in relation to ESG, we're going to talk about, this is something that's kind of relatively new. I think it's new to me anyway, in the last few years, is demand side load management with your energy consumption at your house.
Yeah.
Or not, maybe not even your house, but your business, your house.
Yeah, all the above.
Yeah.
And so, so if you use electricity, if you do, then this affects you, all right? And if you live, because if you watch YouTube or anything at all, there's no question, and I'm all for these people. There's a lot of the whole group that lives off the grid on a, in a cabin in the woods or a van by the river. And they've got a solar panel and they run things off of a car battery. And, man, I'm really cool with all that, So just as long as you're not trying to make me live in a van by the river. But,
right.
I'm good with all that. So the first thing I would say is this concept of demand side load management has been around forever, okay? And so I propose to everybody that they should start thinking about it differently now. Not that they've ever thought about it, but when you go look into it, if you do in fact go look into it, that you kind of have a view of it that's consistent with the state of affairs. So here we go. So electricity is described as a form of energy that cannot be stored effectively in bulk, that it has to be generated, it has to be distributed, and has to be consumed fairly immediately.
Yeah.
All right? And if we get to a point on our system, think about a 100-degree day in August in the south, or maybe a 104-degree, 5-degree day in Texas or somewhere else in the southwest, and you get to the point where the load, which is the demand, the electricity demand on the system, is approaching maximum, then they've either got to find fairly immediately another supply of energy, or they've got to curtail the load, the demand, okay? And so, again, if you go look into this, it's been around forever, and it seemed, at the time benign, but now you're at a system, now you're at a point in time where you should be concerned about the utility, the service provider, controlling your energy usage, and think about it this way: you're going to dictate to me what my temperature inside my house is. And I would suggest to you that that's going on to this day, okay? And I base that on interviews I've had with folks out in Texas that are currently using smart meters. Smart meters have been around. And when you read about smart meters, a normal person will come away and say, well, that's not a bad idea. And maybe I could get some cost savings and such as that. But I would suggest to you that you consider whether or not with the state of affairs that we're in, all right, whether or not you want to give up control. Like this guy in Texas is telling me, said their house was destroyed by fire. They rebuilt their house. And this is a brick house built with modern specs, spray foam insulation, the whole 9 yards. He says, a couple of days a week the system works just fine. We keep our thermostat set on 74. He said, a couple of days a week it works just fine, the way it's supposed to. He said, the other 5 days a week now, he said, somewhere between 10 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the temperature's getting up to 84 degrees. It doesn't matter what you set it on, all right? 84 degrees, and it's about 10:30 at night before it's back down to where we've got the temp set on. I spoke with an electrical engineer with Southern Company. And he confirmed all this and said, that they actually have a subsidiary that is in the business of producing these smart meters and again, we discussed in Birmingham there's a fairly new community that's been built up around a smart grid. Yeah. All right, sounds neat. I would even say that there's no question that this is a glimpse of things to come and I think to come in a short order. Okay? He said, so this neighborhood has access to solar power, to fuel cell power, to a natural gas generator, and it's hooked up to the grid as well, to the main grid that that you would normally hook up to. He said the whole point is he said to be able to choose and to switch off from one to get the cheapest source of energy at that particular time of the day. All right, and so by itself that sounds rational. Why do these companies, whatever your electric utility, whoever your electric utility provider is, why do they want to get involved with that? Well, I mean, in terms of controlling the load. Well, if you read much, you read about these rolling blackouts across the country, California, even in Texas. The debacle Texas had a couple of winters ago.
Well, that's the ultimate form of demand-side load management. It's just
yeah, that's right. Oh, not that they wanted that to happen. It was a debacle for them, but they're trying to keep such things from happening. So we're going to control, we're going to control the amount of power that can be used. In other words, they're going to control the on-off switch. So because they don't want such things like blackouts to happen, no question about that. My question to you is, why are we in that state of affairs? I mean, I don't think that there's been any population boom in the United States that's all of a sudden outrun our technological capabilities of providing power. Okay, why are all of a sudden that are we dealing with those things? We haven't dealt with it here in Alabama, but I would say to you that it's coming.
Well, and it all boils down to, at some point, demand is getting close to capacity as far as supply. Instead of ramping up the supply, using another source to generate more electricity, they start controlling it on the other side because maybe they don't have other sources to create. They don't have the capacity.
Or they've chosen not to use, or they've been regulated away from using cheap, reliable. So yeah, I'm talking about coal. We shut our local Gorgas coal-fired plant down a number of years ago, and there's going to be some backlash about this. That's fine, bring it on. You know the email address. Most of you know my phone numbers. But you shut that down, and you went to what? Well, here we're going to burn all natural gas. Mm-hmm. All right, we know what's going on with natural gas. We've been talking about that. Okay, we'll get Caligula to put up a chart of natural gas, current chart of natural gas. Okay, we'll give him that.
Who's Caligula?
The boss, Matt.
Matt. Okay.
Yeah, boss man. Okay.
I thought it was Oliver Stone, but anyway.
He can be whatever he chooses to be at whatever time he chooses to be it.
All right.
Okay.
Well, just if you're going to throw me a curveball, give me a heads up.
He can identify as Caligula if he wants to.
That's a good point.
Okay. So anyway, as we've gravitated away from those sources, What did you use to back that? We're going to use natural gas. Okay, fine. In other places that have had these problems, think California, think Texas, they've gone to these so-called renewable sources of energy that are just not as reliable. Wind and solar.
Right.
They're not as reliable, and so I think that, and then I've said this all along. You can't, technology. We talk about this on a fairly regular basis, and technology is a religion, man. I mean, it's a religion that dies hard. People get on things, and it's the people that have the power and the influence to move things, and it's neat and sexy and cutting edge and progressive, and they get on a kick, and it's folks that don't have to live and die by evidence-based, objective evidence-based facts. Okay, where hey, before we cut off everybody's reliable and cheap sources of energy, we might better make sure.
Yeah, let's test this out a little bit first.
That we know that this is a feasible alternative. And look, T-Boone, I drive through those the big wind farms up in the northern panhandle of Texas. T-Boone Pickens, a very successful energy man from Texas. I remember him talking about he was behind some of those because of the tax credits, the subsidies that are there. They weren't like standalone, sustainable, free market. We can stand on our own economic power.
Right.
It's
taxpayer subsidized.
It's got to be, and if you take a good look at the evidence, you're going to be, in my opinion, hard pressed to come away and say that this all too quick and I think foolish move toward relying on for significant pieces of our energy from wind and solar that's not to blame from this. And so, but we're well on this road. I don't think we're turning back. I don't think anybody's going to wake up one day and say, we were just joking about that. I can't believe y'all took us seriously.
Let's go back.
And so we're going back. Although Germany's turning on their coal-fired plants again, depends on how bad the situation gets.
A lot of countries in Europe are doing that, and also, I was reading the other day where they're starting to burn those those wood pellets again. There's a company I think in Delaware that supplies a lot of those overseas, and they have contracts going out 15 years where they're burning.
And you and I were talking about that. That's been going on for some time. Sending it to Europe over their green push, and we have pellet mills here in Alabama actually,
right,
that are contracted out. It's all going overseas. But this look. We'll kind of head toward the conclusion with this. We pay during the year a flat rate for power. Although, see, people don't think about this, but the power companies' cost for power is constantly going up and down every day, depending on the current price of natural gas, what have you, whatever their fuel source is. So at the end of the year, they've either undercollected or overcollected, and they've been undercollecting, meaning we've been paying less than because they can pass the cost of their fuel source on dollar for dollar to the end consumer. And because of the recent spike, amongst other things, the recent spike in natural gas, we've been paying less. So, and this came out when I was talking to this Southern Company engineer that you should expect in the months to come. Next year for sure that there's going to be a big rate hike. We've been saying for a long time that the power bills in this country, that people's cost for electricity is going to wind up being a political football, and it's going to be that there's no question in my mind some subsidies, that the government's going to get involved with this because of, in my opinion, because of the pushback from the citizenry, and all along the citizenry should have had their eyes open to it to say, we don't want this. You need to stop this. okay? And they should be putting pressure on, somebody said, nobody's going to get outraged until it's at their doorstep. Now, we weren't talking about electricity, we were talking about something else. Right. They're not going to get outraged until it's at their doorstep, but when it's at your doorstep, it's too late. Yep. So, this is economics related, this is stock market related, it's all of the above. Because the push in the investment circles for ESG alternatives is huge. So this has relevance to all the factors in my mind that we should be talking about.
Sure. Is that it? No, that's enough.
Okay.
We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Understand.